Well, the Wildcats got hogtied by the Javelinas in a 16-13 home loss.
But a win on a big stage might be what the doctor ordered. It's the Ken Collums Show right now. Welcome to the Ken Collums Show. I'm Taylor Langston. Here with me, of course, is Coach Ken Collums, and filling in for Grant Boone, Austin Gwynn. Austin, welcome back.
Thanks. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been about a year. Coach, what are some quick thoughts that you have about the game last week against A&M Kingsville? 13-16 loss.
Well, the number one thing is we didn't play as well as we should have. We didn't execute things. I could count offensively 6 plays in a row within the last part of the second quarter and the first part of the third quarter that we should have had significant gains. I mean, almost changing field position just within one play. 6 plays in a row where we would have somebody breaking down on every play, somebody different. Could be a lineman, could be a quarterback, could be a drop pass, could be a fullback. And things, that just tells you that things aren't clean enough. Tells you you're right there, you're very close, but we didn't play well enough to win. We had a chance to win the game, didn't play well enough to win though.
And it's tough to lose. It's even tougher to lose though when you lose a couple of guys along the way and injuries kind of piled up for you at the linebacker position on Saturday. What's the status of those guys, and also running back Sharkandrick West, who didn't see the field on Saturday?
Well, Cy Wilson is out. He had pins put in his wrist already, so he's done. Blake Rudd hurt his ankle, so he's out for the season. So we've lost significant guys at that outside linebacker position, and you know it's hard to tackle good players if you don't have your guys out there. And then Sharkandrick West did not play. Of course, that hurts you. Anytime you're not playing with your number one running back, you know that's going to bother you a little bit. But we're looking for him to possibly play this week. It'll be a game time decision with him.
Well, something that we've never seen before, the double pass play with Cade Stone and Mitchell Gale. We got that called back. They said that he was out of bounds, but then we also got a touchdown called back. How does something like that, how detrimental is that error in the performance of a game?
Well, when you don't play well, you need all of those. You know, you really need things to go well as far as the calls. You know, and that's a bummer when you don't get them. And our guy was in bounds and all that. But you know, they're gonna miss some calls, and they're people too. But the bottom line is we should not have been in those positions to actually need those like we need our next breath type situation. So when we execute better, which we will this week, we should be fine.
We'll talk about that game at Cowboy Stadium, and we'll also get to talk a little bit more about the game at Kingsville, so stick around for more highlights. Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show. We talked a little bit about last week's game, but let's get up to speed with the highlights from the Texas A&M Kingsville game.
Of Gale, it's 3 running right, and it's a reverse to Gabriel, all kinds of room, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Backfield, it's a shovel pass to the 30, 35-yard line, lowers his head, and we'll get to the 36, a gain of 4. The baller is fumbled. No, he stayed on his feet. He's on the near sideline to the 50. To the 29. First and 10, Popple drops back, ball is batted in the air, and it is almost intercepted by big Melvin Shedd. The snap and hands off to Woodson. Bounces to the outside where he's mapped. There's Popple. It's going to be an option. He's going to... Snap. It's a handoff to Woodson up the middle. He's hit by Thorwater and driven back. It's a wide receiver screen. It could be a double pass. Cade Stone's going to go deep. Intended for DeMarcus Thompson. He catches.
Guys who's in the 3s and the 4th string guys have to step up and make plays now. It's just something about the game. Guys go down. Guys got to be able to step up.
We were just shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, that's all we can really say about it. We didn't execute, and it shows we only got 13 points out of it.
Great recap, Taylor. Now, obviously, Coach, we see a score like 16-13, and we're not used to seeing ACU only score 13 points. Mitchell only completed 13 of 31 passes. There were 6 straight drives that didn't result in a first down at any point in the drive. Very un-ACU-like offense, and you're still in charge of calling plays as the offensive coordinator. What needs to change on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, the bottom line is we've got to get it all together, get everything. We refer to it as ginning. When we start ginning, then things are good. But we're not there yet. Now, I'll tell you this. I think I probably overestimated our progress as far as our offensive line. And I don't know why I did. Probably maybe wishful thinking. I don't know. But we've got new guys all over the place. You know, Blake Spears and Josh Perez, they're not new, but they're new at their positions. And that changes everything. And we've got 2 brand new starters at guards. We've got a new left tackle. And we do so much offensively, and we challenge those guys so much that it doesn't just happen. You know, you can't just put somebody out there and all of a sudden, you know, things are functioning properly. You look at our season last year, our first 2 games, you know, we didn't play well. You know, at Tarleton, we just made enough plays there at the end of the game to win it. And then we played North Alabama. We were super hit and miss. You know, we were turning the ball over left and right, and that's kind of the situation we're in right now. And last year, you know, you kind of reflect on your experience. You know, last year we got it together in Game 3. This year I anticipate us doing the same thing. It seems like here our biggest jumps are not necessarily from Game 1 to 2, but Games 2 to 3. And I fully expect those offensive linemen to get it together and understand that wasn't the only issue. You know, Mitchell just flat out missed some throws. We had 4 drops. We had a few missed assignments. Not very many missed assignments, but more technical issues that are super fixable. I mean, we're fixing them, you know, as we speak this week. So I anticipate a big jump in just our efficiency, because that's what we always talk about. We don't ever talk about scoring points and we need this many yards or this many first downs. It's mainly just, let's just be efficient. Let's just do the right thing, move the chains, and sooner or later, when you do that long enough and you put the ball in the right guy's hands, they're going to score.
Well, we only had possession of the ball for 22 minutes as opposed to the Kingsville offense, who had it for 37. I mean, we did struggle a little bit with getting first downs, but is the lack of rushing yards on ACU's part a fault of ours, or is that because the Kingsville defense was just that good?
Well, it's probably a little of both. Those guys up front that Kingsville had, their front 4, they were good. They were really good, and they were able to compress the running lanes. Now, and like I said, we weren't near as clean as we should have been as far as running the ball, because it all kind of starts with us running the ball. Then our play action games comes into play, and then we're always going to drop back and throw a few screens. But it was frustrating because we weren't able to run the ball consistently, and that's always an issue when that's part of your game. And you can't just drop back every play. We don't even want to do that. But we want to run. We would love to run and play action. We just got to get more consistency out of up front out of our run game.
But as rough as it was on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, it's a totally different story. You look back at last year's Kingsville game, and Jonathan Woodson went for over 200 rushing yards. And even though ACU won that game, they got burned a lot by the Kingsville running game. This year, it's a completely different story. 15 carries, 27 yards. How did you stop them?
Well, that was the main goal. And our defense executed the game plan really well. I mean, they did. We held them to 40-something yards rushing, and you know, defensively, that's where it starts. It starts with, hey, we got to stop the run. And definitely with a guy like Woodson, if you let him get that ball and go downhill, then he's gonna run by people faster than you can blink. What we did not do a good enough job of is you know, defending the pass, and it's hard to do both. I mean, it really is. But I think we probably defended the pass like we did in practice, which was not real sharp at times. We were showing some different coverages. I don't know that we were getting to our zones and rotating, as sharp as we should have. And against a guy that can throw the ball, he's going to make you pay. But those guys did their job. They gave up yards, did not give up points. And if they give up 16 points a game, I'm good with that. It's just, the offense obviously has got to score more than twice.
Well, continuing on with the defense, they held for 8 straight minutes on one single Kingsville drive. You have to be impressed with the way that your defense performed, being able to hold them at their own goal line whenever they could have scored. They had every opportunity to score in the fourth quarter. What do you expect to roll over? What would you like to see roll over from last week's performance of the defense?
Well, the number one thing is to stop the run. If we can come in and against Tarleton and stop their running game, or slow it down to where they can't really rely on it, because when you can rely on a run game, it makes everything so much easier. And we'll stop the run, or we'll slow their run game down. And I would like to see still physical play. We tackled really well. We tackled better against Kingsville than we did against McMurray. We had fewer missed tackles, and we were physical. We were running around, and we're getting people hurt left and right, but we'll get somebody in there. Coach Doolin and Coach Roboto and Coach Roush, they're good coaches. They'll be fine over there. It's just when you're missing your guys, it's a little frustrating while the other guys start catching up. But we'll do well against the run, and we'll play aggressive pass defense.
We'll talk a little bit more about that Tarleton matchup at Cowboy Stadium when we come back right after this.
Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show, and now with a look at the ACU sports landscape, we toss it up to Matthew Sloan and Jimmy Isbell with the JMC Network Sportscast.
Thanks for joining us today on this JMC Network Sportscast. I'm Matthew Sloan.
And I'm Jimmy Isbell.
The men's and women's tennis team will get going this week as their individual season starts. Both teams are perennial powerhouses, but the fall will give them a chance to show off their individual talent as well. Hans Hock, Borja Cortez, Brittany Reed, and Julia Malja will play in the Racket Club Collegiate Invitational, while the rest of the Cats will head to either New Mexico or Oklahoma for opening round matches. Both ACU teams will have a chance to go deep into nationals this year with a mix of veteran leadership and young talent.
Summer we were playing tournaments. This past weekend we had a tournament where we all played on our own time, and so it was really good for all of us. We got to play each other, we got to play some other schools, and this weekend we're going to New Mexico State, so we're going to have some good competition there because that's D1. So we'll have some good D1 competition.
Well, I think we have a lot of talent. We added some freshman players, and they're looking pretty good, but I mean, we're just starting, and it's the fall, it's individual.
This past weekend, the ACU volleyball team struggled to win their last 2 games at the Colorado Premier Challenge. The Cats went up against number 11 Cal State Bernardino and host number 10 Metro State. They were up 2-0 on Bernardino, expected to upset, but the poised Coyotes won 3 straight sets to pull off the upset. The Cats suffered a huge loss when junior captain Madeline Robinette fractured her hand in warm-ups, but the Cats are still expected to compete for the last time in the Lone Star Conference this year. Striving to overcome adversity as they move to Division I Southland Conference, they will play this Friday against West Texas A&M before leaving Saturday to eastern New Mexico.
Although the football team is only 2 games into their season, the Cats find themselves banged up, especially on defense. 7 players have already missed action with injuries, and the depth chart is wearing thin. But linebacker Justin Stevens believes the Wildcat defense can handle the adversity. Here's Brance Armstrong with more from the training room.
Assistant Athletic Director for Student Wellness Corey Driscoll tells us that the training room sees athletes for all types of injuries.
We open it up at 7 a.m. every morning. We do treatments at 7 before the guys go to class so that they have an opportunity to get in. If they've got classes all day, we can at least do 1 treatment in the morning before they go to class, and then we try to get them in right after lunch for another treatment if they need that. And then usually about 1:30, guys start rolling in, somewhere 1:30 to 2 to get taped, get treatment, start some rehab, and really just get ready for practice.
There has been a large number of injuries this season, and the training office works with each and every one of them.
We probably see 50 to 60 guys a day through the training room.
Driscoll treats all types of injuries, but says some are definitely more severe than others.
I've got to be able to maintain composure and be calm so that the student athlete doesn't freak out whenever, if you're freaking out, then they'll definitely freak out. So it's really important for us to to remain calm. This week we've seen a fibular fracture, a wrist dislocation fracture, as well as a couple of our ACL rehabs that we're doing right now, and then anything else from just normal practices and game type situations where we've gotten some guys just beat up, bruised up just a little bit.
ACU's 13th ranked golf team won their first hosted tournament since 2006 at the Charles Cootie West Texas Intercollegiate at the Diamondback Golf Club Tuesday. Despite the windy conditions, the team won by a whopping 30-shot victory, shooting a .549 overall. Senior All-American Alex Carpenter took the individual title for the second straight year. The team will be playing in the Territory Classic in Duncan, Oklahoma, September 24th through 25th. For this edition of the JMC Network Sportscast, I'm Jimmy Isbell.
And I'm Matthew Sloan.
Thanks, guys. The Wildcat defense has been explosive in its first games of the season. With a vicious front four and a powerful gang of linebackers, they've held two teams to only one touchdown.
New defensive coordinator Darian Doolin has revamped the ACU defense. Taylor dives inside the mind of the newest member of the ACU coaching staff.
I'm just Darian. You know, I'm a dad. I have two children. I think I'm a laid-back guy. I enjoy going to practice and being around the players myself. That's one reason why I do it. And the coaches too. I love the brotherhood that you get being around men that have the same desires, the same wants, the same goals as you do.
After serving as the head coach at Coffeyville Community College in Kansas, Darian Doolin goes from the black and red to the purple and white.
Coming in now as an assistant, I can kind of take some of those roles away from coach and be able to run things a little bit smoother to help him out. And what things that he may not think of, we can kind of give him a hand and say, hey, Coach, what about this as a head coach or as an assistant? Can I do this for you? You really appreciate being assistant coach after being a head coach.
Something that Coach Doolin values in any team he coaches is the community. He says being part of a team is being a part of a family.
I think this is probably the best place I've ever been at with that. The guys are really together all the time, and they understand their roles. The chemistry that we have, both offense and defense, is really neat. I think our guys care for each other and really love each other and like to be around the guys. And that's important because sometimes it gets tough on the football game. And during a football game, you never know the ups and downs. When you can look to the guy next to you, it's your brother, and you feel like, hey, we've been through this together, and we can keep going through these things.
Well, folks, it's that time of year again, Cowboy Stadium, and an old rivalry that has been on the minds of players and fans all week. When we come back, it's time to saddle up. We'll talk about this Texas-sized matchup when we return. Welcome back here on set of the Ken Collums Show. And, Coach, let's talk about today's opponent, Tarleton State. They took you down to the wire last year when we played them in Tarleton, and then last week they beat the reigning LSC champions, Midwestern State. Think it could be another tight one at Cowboy Stadium?
Well, I'm pretty sure it will be. I have no reason to believe that it won't be. Every time we play them, we match up well against each other for some reason. And, you know, our game last year came down to the last play of the game, and, you know, it may very well happen just like that. I do think if we play a cleaner game, I don't know that it will, but it sure might.
Well, and we all remember the Nate Bailey interception in the end zone. It sealed the game. It was a great play. The defense really stepped up, and now we have a new face to be thinking about. Running back Jerome Regal, who had 152 rushing yards in last week's game against Midwestern. What are we going to have to do to bottle him up tonight?
Well, Coach Doolin and those guys over there on defense they'll have a good plan, and it all starts with just compressing those running lanes. That's what football is. Football is about compression of running lanes and expansion of space, and that's really what it comes down to. And our D linemen should rise to the occasion against Jerome. He's a good running back, and against those guys, if you give them any space, they're going to make yards. And if you let them do it over and over, then that's like when you don't stop the run, you're going to have issues.
A lot of question marks coming into the season, four-year program, but one exclamation point, at least going into the season, you thought quarterback Mitchell Gale, one of the probably the best quarterback coming into this year, as voted on by the coaches in the Lone Star Conference, and he struggled so far this year, especially last week against Kingsville. This Tarleton State defense held Midwestern to only 17 points, a team that, as you well know, put up 70 against us last year. What is Mitchell going to have to do to kind of get back on track?
Well, Mitchell will have to get back to the basics. at times his decision making, he kind of thinks ahead a little bit too much on certain plays and certain situations. And if he just lets the game come to him and reacts to it, reacts to his instincts and what he's been coached to do, he'll be fine. I will be shocked if he doesn't come out and play a really sharp game.
Well, assuming that Charkandrick West is still questionable and he won't make an appearance in tonight's game, there's 3 guys who have really stepped up these past 2 games. Marcel Threet and Travis Tarver came out big in their first game against McMurray, and then Daryl Cantu-Harkless, a reliable player. Who else are you looking for to sort of fill up those gaps?
Well, the bottom line is our receiving core is going to be fine. You know, last year we threw for 348 a game with those receivers, and you know, minus a tight end. We lost our tight end from last year, but those guys will play well, and they are very capable of getting first downs, catching the ball, making yards, and scoring. And you know, last year I think we were number 2 in the country at first downs per game, and it's a large part because of those receivers. So they know how to maneuver, they know how to get open and catch the ball, and our running backs will be fine. I hope Charkandrick plays. I mean, he's an explosive player, and he's going to put points on the board, but if he doesn't, then we'll figure it out. Those 3 guys will be able to tote the mail a little bit.
It's nice to have another explosive player like Cantu-Harkless there, sitting in your back pocket, a guy that made the 2 biggest plays that counted in last week's game, the one where he kind of runs into the crowd, is able to bounce it outside for a 30-yard gain, and then the long touchdown there in the 4th quarter. It's nice. It's nice to have him as a guy that you can get the ball in open space and just make things happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's what happened in 2010. He was a really good running back for us. We were able to get other running backs, so we moved him around a little bit where we can still get him the ball and get him involved. But as this thing plays out, he may become more and more of a factor, you know, in the backfield. He does that stuff naturally. You know, the thing is pass protection. He's a little guy, and those guys get beat up over time. So you can't just feed the ball to those guys, or they'll be less effective. It's like a horse race that can't run that fast, or a racehorse that can't run that fast. That's the way we always talk to them. I need you healthy. I need you sharp, because you're no good to me if you can't run very fast. So we'll be fine with him, and we'll be creative with how we get him the ball.
Well, we've talked about the game itself, but what about the stage that we're going to be playing on? I mean, Cowboy Stadium, that's pretty big. That's big time right there. How are you going to sort of keep your players grounded and not have them overwhelmed with the environment or the atmosphere of Cowboy Stadium?
Well, you know, the guys that played there last year, they kind of know. And once you've been there and done that, it helps a little bit. We've got some rookies and some new guys that didn't get to do that last year, and we're not going to do a walkthrough in the stadium like we did last year. But you know, it's different. If you've never been in there and been on the field, I mean, it's like you're walking into the Roman Coliseum. I mean, it's huge, and you just look around and go, "This really is a football stadium." You could fit, you know, small buildings inside of here, and so it's a special place, and it's really neat. I'm glad the LSC does it. I think it's a great experience for everybody.
And it's going to be pretty loud in there too. Have you all talked about maybe running in plays with players, or what's going to be kind of that?
No,
situation?
it shouldn't. I don't think crowd noise will be that big a deal. It seats 110,000, so it's not. There won't be near that there, so it shouldn't be that loud. But I can anticipate on some third downs it'll get pretty loud. But I don't think we'll have an issue.
Well, we're definitely excited about the game. It's gonna be a pretty competitive one this afternoon. And we hope to see you there. The game starts at 4 o'clock, the pregame show kicking off with Grant Boone and Lance Fleming at 3:30 on 92.5. Don't forget to join us here every Saturday. For Austin Glenn and the coach Ken Collums, I'm Taylor Langston for the Ken Collums Show.